What's going on, world? It's your boy Gemini Brown here, back with another episode of 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐿 Knowledge. Today, we're going to talk a little bit more about Aquarius energy and focus this talk on how that manifests in the sense of hacking the matrix and how we, starseeds, light workers, however you identify, can do that and actually take a look at an example of the system being hacked, a changing of the guard, Aquarius energy in motion. All right, so let's get into it. Now, a couple key words for Aquarius. We know it corresponds to technology, group associations, in the sense of a function or need for expression or how it wants to express, in the sense of rebelling, right? So it's air, based air. So being strong within your convictions of what you think and implementing that for betterment of others, humanity as a whole. And then therefore what a person's 11th house or Aquarian energy really reflects is their humanitarian spirit, okay, or thoughts for humanity. Like, so your 11th house is, so if it, let's say Leo is on your 11th house, your ideal world or society likely involves lots of creative expression, play, right? Where life is just all about connecting with one another and bringing that out. And the natural function is that we, through our differences, we connect in the sense of technological advances to get us in a metaphorical sense past Earth, Capricorn, the mountain, and a little bit further. So furthermore, really what I want to get at is this idea of rebellion. So in the sequence, you look at this Capricorn, Aquarius, or Aquarius, Capricorn. It's going from order to new order, right? Or order out of chaos. No, I said that wrong. Chaos into order, right? So rebellion leading to order, or order, too much status quo leading to rebellion. Okay. So there are many ways to look at this. It's traditionally a collective, really collective influence, but we know we have all of the signs within ourselves. So in a personal sense, you want to think, how do I express my Aquarian abilities? Okay, or where do I need to rebel? Right? Where do I not need to fit in? And the cool thing about working with others, doing readings, providing the guidance, is letting some people know that, like, you're not meant to fit in this area, and there can be a natural alienation that life gives you to enforce that, or the individual may just relate to it like, I just don't want to do it like everyone else. And what's really interesting, because we still have this Pluto and Capricorn influence into this Aquarian age, is that depending on how that individuality or rebelliousness is set up against you, set up in your chart, you really may not be motivated to do like you may sense or see that everyone else is doing very much so the same things. But the key thing in that regard is to look to Leo and know that everyone's doing similar things, but no one does it like you. All right, really keep that one in mind. So one of the things I try to set up in my book, Astrology of the Matrix, is the idea that this is a matrix, but as I state, it's about how you relate or perceive the experience or reasoning in the matrix. I don't relate to it as a prison. I don't. And I'm not against anyone who does, because in their experiences, it may have come to feel that way. And there may be situations in which the person feels trapped or imprisoned within their matrix. But furthermore, if we look at it in the sense of a program, and what's I remind myself as I'm reflecting about this, I'm like, yo, for those out there who have done the knowledge, who like watch the Matrix trilogies, watch the other vast amounts of just occultish films that will prime you for greater understanding of what you're experiencing, that you have the premise like that we're at this point where it's like we don't really have to question what we know. We kind of just gotta know what we know and let it flow from there. Okay? So when you really are looking at life like a matrix, or in another sense, like The Sims, right? Like I tell you, like for me, especially when I'm astral projecting and just deep meditations, it's literally like The Sims, because you see how so many individual entities are all having their experience playing this game. And the terminology escapes me now. I feel like it's like something with the double slit experiment, but the idea of like your house or the things outside of your actual peripheral view being there when you're not there, it's very interesting. And the more, like I said, you get into those astral realms and that part of yourself, you'll understand. But anywho, so you see that like we're all out here having these experiences, and then when we bring in the astrology, the zodiac, that is what we're using to measure the evolution, to understand it, to record like the processes, and then furthermore seeing how the energy manifests here as above, so below. Now we're all here, we're all playing our different sectors, and I want to talk about how basically we can hack this matrix. So the understanding of certain parts that people have is good, is that certain folks, based on their level of consciousness, are not necessarily attuned to being awakened to a large portion of who they are. And that's all right, because we're all different evolutions. You can't get what you can't handle, right? Like imagine having many spiritual gifts, but not being brought up in an environment or a society or time period that supports any of that. You get to end up in the psych ward or misdiagnosed type of stuff, right? But now we're progressing to a point where things are functioning. There's a place for everything, and to further understand this, and one of the variations of kind of how Aquarius energy further plays out is like, think about in the sense of like people who may be deaf or blind, and all of the amenities we have for them to survive or be functional in this world. Just think about the vastness and technology in those sectors. Partly how you you get to that point is every now and then souls are born with the understanding or the information to manifest the said thing that is needed, right? And then their own individual story would tell it how it's going to play out, what they need to go through to arrive at those things, okay? To be able to invent, create, or experience the thing that pushes the world forward. But let's not forget, for every person that breaks through and does amazing things with a disability, or just in general, they encounter collective resistance, because the inherent nature of human beings is to not all the way hate, but discriminate against what they don't understand. So there is a natural layer of rebellion that has to occur, or that spirit has to be cultivated within the individual. And then on the opposite end of Leo, that translates in confidence and like, I'm the motherfucking sun and I'm here to shine. And you know what? Once I arrive, you have no choice but to just look and shine because I am that. So what I'm saying is we're at this point where we know those are light workers, those are star seeds, those are rainbow children, indigos. It's so crazy because I've been going through these things in my consciousness of the journey, and I tell people to recount the journey. And there was a time how I'm here providing this information for y'all. There was a time where people were providing it for me, and I was learning about these things and like, oh my God, I feel this, I resonate with this. It was awakenings. It's been a beautiful journey. But keeping in mind the idea of rebellion is like, or that Aquarius energy, that is there was a point of like, how do I adapt this, right? Where's the place for this? But luckily, the world was changing in a ways to support these things. We have YouTube, which is a very 11th house, 9th house in nature. All right. So the first part of really knowing how to hack the system is having to own who you are. And how I gave it to you before is the two examples. You'll have the one where you feel limited, or you're placed with this restriction or disability, but it's actually meant to bring out the greatness in you, right? You just have to hold the path and tap into that Leo. And then the other one goes with sticking to who you are, staying true to your truth, to your vision, okay, which is the 9th, 11th out here. Okay, so once there, it's about the rebelliousness, doing it your own way. And I can give you an example of, from my experience with teaching. And like I said, this can be applied to anybody in their given field, whether you're a lawyer, a police officer, government official. When you get inside a system, your 10th house, that corporation, you see how it functions. There, the meetings, the requirements, and then eventually you get privy to the conditioning. These are the goals. These are what I need to do to meet what is required. But what if what is required isn't even what's needed, right? You find you have to go above and beyond. And that's the thing with the compensation. If people are compensated or feel compensated correctly and feel valued, because it's not about the monetary, but it's about the community, the family feel, how they feel in relation, like knowing they are appreciated, that determines whether they go above and beyond. And then that other part is just like the passion and that they have for it, what they're doing. So you within that 10th house, you have your ability to implement your 5th house, your individuality, which then coincides with the opposite Aquarius of a bigger vision. Okay. So this is where the individual chart and the positions of the planets are going to determine your experience. So we just made a video about for fame and success, and I brought up the 10th house, the 7th house. So say you have energies in your chart that are supportive of, personal power or experience. So a sun in the 10th house, letting you garner natural respect. A position like that gives you the wiggle room to hack the system just off the strength of the leeway. But here's the kicker. Now, this is where we go back to the matrix part of it, and more so the personality level versus of the soul and the spiritual level. in your 10th house is also we call it success or public standing. So the ability to get praise and recognition from that, the title you assume. Ultimately, this is why the sun is somewhat exalted in the 10th. This is the highest position. So that naturally occurs. So the kicker is that every person can become lost within the ego of the position that they're playing, no matter the position. So even if you're like a spiritual position as a pastor, a spiritual healer, one can express that from a personality level or a spiritual level. Okay, so if it's coming more from a personality level, it's like trying to keep up with the trends of what's hot, what's current, trying to feed that beast, right? Whereas at the other levels, you're more going from what's from the remnants of your soul and spirit. Okay, so even for the other jobs, like the policemen and other corporate jobs, we're all faced with this choice of like where the influence you hold, what needs to be done versus what's really expected here. You get what I'm saying? And then that's how you plunge to Aquarius of like, no, this needs to be done different. All of the lawyers here at this firm go for these type of cases. I'm gonna go for these types. You know what I'm saying? Or push for that, right? So, furthermore, in the 10th house, you've seen another example. You've seen discrimination, right? You're seeing hypocrisy, and an example that I want to bring in here is with the media. And we're gonna see a light worker in motion. Calling out what we all know, because to some extent, going back to Leo, it's a stage, right? It's a show, but depending on what you're bringing to you can still bring integrity. You can still bring a balanced perspective to whatever. But what we have here in the case of the medium, what we're going to see is the need to perpetuate the narrative, even if it's not a needed conversation, right? So take an example of that. And I considered, like, this is also within this example, we're going to see this is the changing of the guard. You have someone who is deep entrenched within the matrix, adorned at the personality level of what they're doing, right? So they're not seeing the higher perspective of how they could be illustrating the point or doing what they're doing. But on the opposing end, you have the renegade, the light worker, the new. That's like, no, I'm coming to shake this up with my thoughts and perspective. So let's take a look. All right, y'all. So what we're going to do here is take a look at this clip. And essentially in this clip, JJ Redick, a former NBA basketball player who's now a sports analyst, is here on this debate show with Stephen A. Smith and his co-host Molly. So I think anyone who knows and watches this show, and as I was alluded to in previous videos, the media drags out storylines and also creates them, which is, part of the function. So there's within that is some essential system, right? So the newspaper, media coverage makes you pay attention to it. So the more coverage you have, the more attention you have on the sport. So if anyone who's been around long enough, just look at the evolution of how sports have been covered. The NBA is now 24/7, 7 days a week, right? So you're going to get a lot of topics or micromanaging or over-analyzing. And in this clip, the topic is presented as who has more pressure to win a title. It's UX's opinion. Now, what I was saying in our previous video was that at some point you can choose to play the game from a personality level. So if you're asked your opinion, you give a personality opinion, or you play the game. right? But here in this clip, we'll see JJ attacks this argument from the rip with that Aquarian rebellious nature. And then what we're going to see is Stephen A. and Molly go into matrix mode, programming, become agents, where they're defending the programming. All right? So let's see. This is all perceptual. So if you see it, you see it. All right?
To win another title, would you put that on LeBron James or Kevin Durant?
I don't think you're going to like my answer here.
Really?
I don't think there's pressure on either guy.
All right. Now, a lot of times, to certain questions, that is the answer, right? But we want to perpetuate, or what people want to do is perpetuate the line, drag it out. So let's take sides. But there's a distinction here that we're going to find out that makes his case of how he's expressing or his perspective important, and also that different than of the other counterparts in the media. And I'll just tell you now, he's an athlete. So let's watch. So that's his argument. I don't think it's either. So let's watch Stephen A's body language switch. So we imagine the programming.
Look, I think both of these players, when we talk about legacies, I think both of these guys' legacies are secured.
Right? Once again, he's saying sound stuff. Remember the question. Who's under more pressure? All right. Let me bump this up a little bit. So then now we got Stephen A. about to go here. This is the programming, y'all. See with your eyes.
It has nothing to do with now. Tomorrow, next month, next season. While you're playing, there's a story that has to be told.
The media.
And the amazing part of it, this is why JJ Redick.
And bump it up a little bit more. A story has to be told. This is a program. This is a man entrenched in the program.
They've been in a coma. They've been stabbed. We all know they're going to live, JJ Redick. They're the stars of the show. It don't stop the storylines from percolating.
This is from Agent who? Smith.
The same is applicable to LeBron KD.
All right. Let's move it up a little bit more. Now, here's the thing. This is the moderator. She's entitled to have her opinion, but she isn't actually. She's supposed to just guide the conversation, but she comes out of character. Furthermore, showing the glitch here. Oh, no. He's gone rogue. I have to add to this. I have to maintain the status.
That's the way it
Time
goes.
out. Speaking of stories, maybe I've been around him too long. JJ, the stakes get a little higher when you become, no one's going to be able to read my note, a super team. And then I have more words for you here. LeBron, AD, Russ, KD, Kyrie, Harden. No one can read my handwriting. A big threes on both teams. You know this. We know how great they are. We know their legacies. Super teams, big threes, star power, stakes are higher, JJ.
Look,
She's saying you have to pick. You have to have an opinion, right? Okay, we go more, and this is where we to the meat of it.
kill, and we want to win.
Okay.
Athlete, we want to go out and kill.
You say neither.
I'll tell you why. Because as an athlete, we want to go out and kill, and we want to win.
Okay.
That's inherent to the game. Any great athlete, that is inherent to the game. There is no one that can put more pressure on Kevin or LeBron or me or Chris Paul than themselves. So all the pressure is coming from this. All the pressure is coming from this. The answer's neither. The answer's neither. You're creating a narrative and a story, Stephen A. We all do that. This is what we do.
Time out. No.
There you have it. This is what we do. This is what you would say, I guess, in the awakened state, at a soul level, within a realm, right, of media, which is the majority are programmed to go with the flow in this area. So what makes JJ Redick even more Aquarian in this situation is the fact that he is representing the new age of sports analysts. Keep in mind, guys, Media members have always been writers, journalists, and slowly we've seen the athletes, if they so desire, trickle over into this sphere and carve out full-on careers. Another Aquarian in this regard, in the NBA playing, is Draymond Green, who's already signed on to be a broadcaster, I think, while he's going to play, and then therefore after. So when you look around, particularly in sports, you will see those needed to hack the system. Okay? Now, this last part is just literally when you've seen someone play a particular role, and Stephen A. in his role, always having a rebuttal, always being able to defend himself. In this moment of being glitched, he wasn't.
We all do that. This is what we do.
Time out. No, well, you could say that. I mean, I guess if people want to give me, I mean, clearly Kevin Durant and them gave me credit for that over this week. Y'all want to give me credit for that, so be it. I'll take it. Don't bother me.
That's not Stephen A. like. I'll take it.
This is what I do. I'm in the media. All I'm doing, though,
You're doing your job.
No.
You're doing your job.
But
You're doing your job. That's all. Hey, man.
But the job is not to create the job is not to create a narrative, as the late great John Thompson once said about me. This is what I love about Stephen A. You want to know how he feels? Just ask.
Yep.
But yeah, y'all, it's a little bit, of using your third eye vision to see the cracks within the matrix. Like I said, I'll be doing more of this. This is a preview of how I want to curate exclusive content. So if you're interested in this, feel free, or exclusive content outside of YouTube, just feel free to contact me, email me, check out my website. Until next time, peace.